Have you ever pondered on why the Bible states that the blood is the life? A simple question, yet it holds profound meaning that has intrigued scholars and believers for centuries. Our journey today takes us to the ancient text of Deuteronomy, specifically verse 12, chapter 23. This verse, in its simplistic beauty, proclaims a truth that seems to transcend time and space. The blood is the life. But what does it mean? Is it literal, metaphorical, spiritual, or perhaps a combination of all three? These questions have sparked countless debates, fueled endless studies, and inspired numerous interpretations. And today we'll be exploring these various perspectives in an attempt to unravel the essence of this profound statement. Intriguing, isn't it? The power of words, the depth of meaning, the mystery of interpretation, all these contained in a single biblical verse. So, buckle up, friends. Join me as we delve into understanding what it means when the scripture says, "The blood is the life." To fully comprehend this, we must first understand the context in which this verse was written. Deuteronomy, the fifth book in the Bible's Old Testament, is a fascinating text, rich in history, culture, and wisdom. Often attributed to Moses, it was intended as a series of speeches, a farewell of sorts, meant to guide the Israelites as they prepared to enter the Promised Land. The book's title, Deuteronomy, originates from the Greek meaning second law. It signifies a reiteration, a second telling of the laws given to the Israelites on Mount Sinai. The purpose of this repetition was not merely to remind the people of the laws, but to emphasize their significance and relevance to a new generation. This generation was not the one that had witnessed the miracles in Egypt or received the original laws at Sinai, but their descendants, those about to forge their own destiny in a new land. The audience, therefore, was a people on the brink of a monumental shift, a transition from wandering nomads to settlers. They were about to face new challenges and temptations, and Moses, through Deuteronomy, aimed to provide them with a moral and spiritual compass. Understanding this context is vital when interpreting any verse in Deuteronomy, including the one that states, "The blood is the life." The verse was not delivered in a vacuum, but to a specific people at a specific time, facing specific challenges. It was a part of a broader narrative, a grander story of faith, obedience, and divine providence. The verse's context, therefore, influences its interpretation. It is not merely a standalone statement, but a piece of a larger puzzle, a thread in a complex tapestry of divine law, human nature, and historical circumstance. Unraveling this thread requires not just a literal reading of the text, but a deep dive into the world of the Israelites, their beliefs, their fears, their hopes, and their relationship with the divine. Now that we understand the context, let us examine the verse in detail. Deuteronomy 12:23 reads, "Only be sure that thou eat not the blood, for the blood is the life, and thou mayest not eat the life with the flesh." But what does it mean? To understand this, we must delve into the verse's components and analyze them in the context of the time. Let's start with the first part. Only be sure that thou eat not the blood. In biblical times, blood held a sacred significance. It was viewed as a life force, a conduit of life itself. This reverence for blood can be traced back to the earliest parts of Scripture, where Cain's blood cried out from the ground after Abel's murder. It's this profound respect for blood that forms the foundation of the verse's first part. Now, let's explore the middle section. For the blood is the life. This is where the metaphorical meaning of blood being life comes into play. In the ancient Hebrew context, blood was more than just a physical substance. It was symbolic of life, vitality, and spirit. Blood was seen as the carrier of life, the very essence that animates the body. When the verse says the blood is the life, it's expressing a deeply ingrained belief that life and blood are inseparable. Moving on to the final part of the verse, "And thou mayest not eat the life with the flesh." This phrase can be seen as a reiteration of the sacredness of life, embodied in blood. It's a commandment not to consume blood, not to violate the sanctity of life. In a broader sense, it's a call to respect every form of life, to acknowledge the divine spark within all living beings. To truly grasp the verse's meaning, we must also understand the role of blood in the religious rituals of the time. Blood was used in various rites and ceremonies, often as a symbol of purification and atonement. For example, during the Passover, the blood of a lamb was sprinkled on the doorposts as a sign of protection against the angel of death. So when the verse commands not to eat blood, It's not merely a dietary restriction. It's a reflection of the deep reverence for life that permeates the scriptures. It's an affirmation of the sanctity of life, a call to honor the divine in every living being. In essence, Deuteronomy 12:23 is a verse deeply rooted in the cultural and spiritual beliefs of its time. It's a verse that speaks of respect for life, of the sacredness of blood, and of the divine spark within all of us. Understanding the historical and metaphorical implications of blood in this verse provides a deeper understanding of its meaning. The verse is not just about blood as a physical substance, but about blood as a symbol of life, of spirit, and of the divine. It's a verse that even today carries a powerful message about the sanctity of life and our duty to respect and honor it. The interpretation of biblical verses has evolved throughout history. Let's explore how this particular verse has been understood over time. In the early days following the writing of Deuteronomy, the verse was understood quite literally. The Israelites, fresh from their liberation from Egypt, were a nomadic people. They depended on their flocks and herds for survival. To them, the blood of these animals represented life in a very tangible way. It was a vital resource, and its consumption was seen as a taboo, a violation of the sacred bond between man and beast. As society began to evolve, so too did the interpretation of this verse. In the Middle Ages, scholars and theologians began to view the verse in a more metaphorical light. They saw the blood as symbolic of life itself and the prohibition against consuming it as a declaration of the sanctity of life. This interpretation was deeply rooted in the societal shift towards a more philosophical and abstract understanding of religious texts. Fast forward to the Enlightenment period, where reason and science began to challenge traditional religious beliefs. The verse was again reinterpreted, this time through a more scientific lens. Blood was understood to be the carrier of oxygen and nutrients, essential for life. The prohibition against consuming it was seen as a practical health measure, demonstrating the Bible's timeless wisdom. In the 19th and early 20th centuries, the verse was often interpreted through a moral and ethical lens. The prohibition against consuming blood was seen as a call to respect all life, a moral directive against unnecessary violence and cruelty. In more recent times, the verse has been interpreted in a variety of ways, reflecting the diversity of our modern society. Some see it as a call to vegetarianism, others as a metaphor for the importance of respecting life in all its forms. It's fascinating to see how cultural and societal changes have influenced our understanding of this verse. Each interpretation, while different, offers a unique insight into the values and beliefs of the time. It's a testament to the enduring relevance of these ancient texts and their ability to speak to us across the ages. But what does this mean for us today? How can we apply this verse in our own lives? That's a question that each of us must answer for ourselves, guided by our own beliefs, values, and understanding of the world. As we can see, interpretation can vary greatly depending on the lens through which we view the scripture. How then can we apply this verse to our lives in the modern world? One might wonder how a verse from the Old Testament, specifically Deuteronomy 12:23, which states that the blood is the life, can be relevant in our contemporary society. The beauty of scripture is that it transcends time and space, offering wisdom and guidance even today. Let's begin with a fundamental principle this verse emphasizes: respect for life. In the context of the verse, the Israelites were instructed to respect the lifeblood of animals. Translating this to today's world, we can interpret this as a call to respect all forms of life. It can be seen as a reminder to treat every creature with dignity and kindness, from the smallest insect to our fellow human beings. This goes beyond physical harm. It can be extended to our words, actions, and even our thoughts about others. In a world where respect often seems in short supply, this verse can serve as a powerful reminder to honor the life in all of us. Next, let's consider dietary habits. In the time of Deuteronomy, the Israelites were told not to consume the blood of animals, as it represented the life force. Today, we can take this as a call to be mindful of what we consume. This doesn't necessarily mean adopting a certain diet or completely avoiding certain foods. Rather, it's about being conscious of the impact our food choices have on our bodies, our environment, and the animals involved. It's about recognizing the life and energy in what we eat and making choices that honor that. Lastly, this verse can influence our moral choices. The concept that the blood is the life can be seen as a metaphor for the idea that our actions have consequences. Just as the life of an animal is in its blood, the life of our character is in our actions. Every choice we make, big or small, contributes to the person we become. This verse can remind us to make choices that align with our values and contribute positively to our character. As we navigate the complexities of the modern world, this verse from Deuteronomy can offer guidance. It reminds us to respect all life, be mindful of our consumption, and make moral choices that reflect our character. Scripture, though ancient, can speak into our modern lives, offering wisdom and direction. So when we read that the blood is the life, it's not just an ancient dietary law or a forgotten ritual. It's a timeless principle, a call to awareness and respect for life in all its forms. It's a reminder that our actions matter, that they shape us, and that they have an impact on the world around us. The wisdom of the scriptures can indeed guide us in our everyday life. We've traveled through time and dissected this intriguing verse. Let's summarize what we've learned. Our journey began with Deuteronomy's context, where we delved into the historical backdrop and the crucial messages it held for the Israelites. We learned how it was a guidebook, a blueprint for a new society being formed in a promised land. And within this guidebook, we found our verse, "The blood is the life." Next, we broke down this verse. We delved into its meaning, not just literally, but symbolically as well. We realized that the blood represents life itself, not merely in a physical sense, but also in a spiritual one. It's a symbol of life's sacredness, a divine gift that demands respect and acknowledgement. From there, we embarked on a journey through time, exploring how interpretations of this verse have evolved. We witnessed its transformation from a dietary law in ancient times to a profound theological statement. We saw how over centuries scholars, theologians, and believers have wrestled with its meaning, each interpretation adding another layer to its profound depth. And then we landed in the modern day, where we looked at how this ancient verse applies to our lives today. We discovered that it isn't just about dietary laws or ancient rituals, but about respect for life, for creation, for the divine spark within us all. It's a reminder that life is sacred, that every breath is a gift, and that we must treat it with the reverence it deserves. In this journey, we've not just understood a verse, but we've also learned about ourselves, about our faith, about our connection to the divine. We've seen how a single verse can hold a world of meaning, a universe of wisdom, and an eternity of spiritual lessons. Remember, the journey to understanding is as valuable as the destination itself. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep growing in your faith journey. Our exploration of Deuteronomy 12:23 has come to an end, but the journey to understanding continues. This ancient scripture, like so many others, is a treasure trove of wisdom waiting to be discovered, a puzzle begging to be solved. The deeper we delve, the more we uncover about the nature of life, faith, and the divine. It's not just about finding answers, but about asking the right questions. So I invite you to keep exploring, keep questioning. Don't stop at what you've learned today. There's so much more to uncover, so many more layers to peel back. Remember, every interpretation is a step closer to enlightenment, every discussion a bridge towards mutual understanding. So don't shy away from sharing your thoughts, your doubts, your revelations. Let's continue this dialogue, this journey of discovery together. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Until next time, stay curious and stay blessed.